family. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Sonia. Thank you for everyone that has been watching my videos, liking, subscribing. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much. If you're new, welcome to the family. On this video, we actually talk about finances and everything real estate. So in today's video, we will be talking about some of the mistakes you need to avoid while buying a house or during a home buying process. So without taking much of your time, let's dive into what are those mistakes we need to stay off from or avoid them. So the first number one mistake I'm going to talk about is people not sticking to their budget, or we not sticking to our budgets, right? So whenever you're going to get a house, you actually have a budget, or you should make a budget if you don't have one yet. You should make a budget and make sure you stick to that budget no matter what the cost of the house is. So if your budget is 500, I don't want to go above 500 in buying a home. Make sure you don't go above it, because you need to consider that apart from just buying that house, there are other things that come with buying a house. You have to pay for insurance. Apart from the mortgage you're actually going to be paying, you're going to pay for insurance, you're going to pay for taxes, you're going to have might be unexpected costs, cost of repair, and other things, right? So you should make sure you stick to your budget. Forget the temptation of overspending and exceeding your financial capability. So you should make sure that no matter what happens, keep your budget the way you had planned it from onset. You don't have to be pressured or say the market is so high. What I'm looking for is not in my budget. What I really want is way above what I had budgeted for. So I want to go above my means. It's not a good idea, my idea for me. It's not a very good idea, because after you step off your budget, right? You're already going above what you had planned for. So you fail to take the cost of insurance into consideration. You fail to take other expenses into consideration. After buying that house, what next? You think you're just going to go sit in there and pay no other bills? No, you will have to pay other bills. So make sure you stick to your budget. The second mistake you would want to avoid is skipping the pre-approval process. If you've been following me, you will notice that I talked about pre-approval process in my previous videos. And I said most sellers actually want you to have these pre-approval letters with you, or have them already before you actually want to come out and see houses. You don't just want to go house hunting without actually knowing or going through the pre-approval process. Because first, it gives you the strength to be able to negotiate. It makes you know what is your limit. Let's say your limit is 300 after submitting all the required documentation from you, and they tell you, hey, you can only qualify for up to 300. You don't want to go out there and look for a $500 house. After that, what? You have failure, you have disappointments, because you saw a house that is so good, but by the time you're going on to actually go bid for that house, you realize that it is above what you can actually be approved for. So let's say you actually go look at this house without going through the process. After skipping the process, right? You just go out there and start looking at houses, and you see a house for the 500, and then you negotiate with the seller, and the seller says, okay, I'm gonna sell it to you because maybe you were the highest bidder. And then you go down to the bank to actually start the process, and going through it, you realize that you cannot qualify for up to 500. The only other option is, okay, whatever the bank qualifies you, you're going to make up for that money. Do you have, let's say you only qualify for 300, do you have extra 200,000? to make that purchase. No. So you get disappointed, you get frustrated, and maybe you don't even want to go through the process no more because what? Oh, I saw a house and I couldn't afford. I didn't know it was that hard. So do not skip the pre-approval process because it actually gives you a clarity of what you can actually qualify for or how much you can actually be given by the bank or loaned by the bank to actually go get a house. Number three is neglecting to research the neighborhood. Most of us buy houses because we want to stay there. Most of us actually maybe get married, have kids, or even if we are not, we have other family members that we want to stay in that house as we go in to buy, right? So the one thing you don't want to do, the mistake you don't want to avoid, you want to avoid, sorry, is going into buying a house without researching the neighborhood. Why would you want to research the neighborhood? You want to research the neighborhood for transportation. You want to research the neighborhood for, especially for families that actually have young kids that have to go to school, right? You say, if I'm unable to actually make a drop off or drop off my kids to school, can this neighborhood, does this neighborhood have access to like transportation, school buses that can actually pick up my kids and drop them off? You want to put that into consideration. You research that. You want to know if the neighborhood have proximity to schools. You don't want to go stay in a neighborhood that all the schools there are not what your kids can actually attend, or the schools are very far away. You want to you have to either drive or you have to, I don't know, get a school bus if a school bus is going to take that far distance, right? So you want to know the proximities to school as well. You want to know the amenities in that neighborhood. Maybe they have so many recreational things there. Maybe they have lakes, maybe they have parks, they have playgrounds for kids, especially like I said, for families, or somewhere that adults can just go relax, something, or a community, right? Something that is going to be more attractive, something that you would really like to do at your free time. So you want to research something like that, some amenities that that neighborhood actually does have. You equally want to know that that place is safe for you and your family to live there. You don't want to go into a neighborhood where by the time you close your eyes, you hear gunshots, you hear robbery, you hear all sort of things. No, that's not it. That's a no-go area. So you make sure you research what is the safety of this place. Is it quiet? Is it a neighborhood that there's always noise? You hear, sometimes you sleep and you just hear people driving like crazy in the middle of the night, right? Waking you up. Or a neighborhood where you still hear people doing racing. I mean, this is at odd hours of the night I'm talking about. You don't want to such things for you and your family. So make sure you do a good and proper research on your neighborhood. Number 4 thing is you hiring a qualified real estate agent. Some people might think that they can actually do it on their own. Can you go get a house without an agent? Absolutely. But is it what you want to go through? Because first, you might not even know or have no knowledge about the market. You have no knowledge about the process, right? What is required to actually go get the house. So you decide, I don't want to go get an agent. I am good on my own. Is it okay to do it? Yes. But make sure if you choose to go that route, you're ready to pay the cost or whatever time is going to take. Maybe you made some mistakes and then at the end of the day you're so frustrated. You're so frustrated because guess what? The house process is becoming so tedious and so stressful. And now you'll be like, I wish I knew I actually just hired an agent and got through this. So make sure you hire somebody that knows best what they are doing. What is that? It's gonna help you ease your work or ease your process of going through buying a house. Because it's not one day. You have to go look at those houses. You have to make especially if you know nothing concerning house, right? Sometimes you actually have to ask them some questions about the house and so many other things, right? So just make sure when you're looking for an agent, look for somebody that is highly qualified. Don't make a mistake and go get somebody that you don't know, or actually just go out there by yourself and go through the process without even knowing what you're doing. So number 5 mistake you want to avoid is skipping the home inspection. Yeah, this actually makes me laugh because sometimes people people think they can just waive inspection, and well, you can if you want to, but people think they can just waive inspection and go get a house. You can waive inspection though. You can choose not to do inspection and go through the house process, and it's gonna get closed. True, you can choose not to, but the question should be: is it worth it? Are you ready to pay the costs at a later date than right now? Because let's say inspection usually ranges, right? Maybe like 500 for inspection, or maybe I don't know, but it won't be more than $1,000 or more, except you choose to do different other inspections on the house, right? There are other different inspections you can actually do the house, but the basic home inspection that is actually going to tell you what the things that you need to know about it is not so expensive. So you choose to not do this inspection at all, okay? And we go and close. And let's just say the inspection at this time was supposed to be 500. We're just gonna pay 500 and get the inspection done. And this inspection was gonna tell you, the inspector or the professional was actually gonna go check on maybe the electrical system, any hazards in the house, plumbing, structural problems, and you choose not to do it. Because after they do an inspection, they actually give you an overview report of what they actually saw. So you didn't do this thing and you go close, and then after you're done, you're already in the house with your family, and you discover that the house is not conducive to stay, the foundation is shaky, the electrical system is not well wired, the plumbing is a mess, maybe it had some pest infection or something, right? Safety hazards. Do you think there's any other thing that seller is gonna do for you? No. You already signed the contract. The seller, you're done with the seller. So now, or maybe even the roof has issues. So if you want to start checking the cost of all these things that you would have known before actually finishing to sign that contract and saying, hey seller, this is what we actually saw wrong in the house when we did an inspection. Can you fix these things for me before I pay or before I buy the house and get into it? Because if the inspection came and you saw the report and you saw all those things as problems, of course you actually ask the seller to get it fixed, right, before you actually buy the house and move in. But no, you did not. So now there is no seller for you to even negotiate for the price or the things to be fixed. Now you have to bear the cost on your own, and you see at a later date that it's more costly when you decide to skip doing inspection and, and you realize later at the later date that this is what was actually wrong with this house. And I choose because when you skip to do it, that means you waive your rights to do inspection. So you choose to bear the consequences at the end of the day. So that is one thing you don't want to do. Don't skip inspection no matter what. It's always gonna be cheap for you to do inspection and know what is wrong with the house than for you to skip and then know what is wrong with the house at the end of the day after you've bought the house already. Okay, so don't skip inspection, my friends. Number 6 mistake you want to avoid is neglecting to read the contract and understand it. Most contracts will be given to you ahead of time. Even before closing, right? They make sure after all the amendments or addendums or anything that was done on the contract, they make sure this contract is handed over to you before you go to closing. So they give you time to actually read through this contract and see if anything or any obligation was put into it or any misunderstandings are into this contract, right? You want to make sure you read this contract and understand it. So I talked about inspection earlier and I said if you choose to do inspection, of course you're going to know and you can negotiate like, hey, can you fix this thing for me? So in that contract before closing, of course whatever they fix is going to be in there stating that it was fixed, or if it wasn't fixed and you guys agreed for the seller to pay for those things instead or a price adjustment, of course it's going to be in that contract, right? So make sure you read that contract and understand it. And if you don't, it's okay to seek legal advice from a real estate attorney. It's very, very okay to maybe pay that money at that time and make sure you understand that contract rather than waiting till after you signed it and then you realize that you didn't read it. There are so many misunderstandings in it. You have unexpected obligations that you want to start dealing with it, or you have legal issues, right? Nobody wants to buy a house and have to be dealing with all those things. You want to buy a house and sit in there peacefully, nobody knocking on your door and telling you one or two things happened, right? So make sure you read and read and read and understand. Like I said, if you don't, and you can always seek from a real estate attorney, let them clarify all these things to you. Number seven mistake you need to avoid is making large purchases. Yes. A lot of times we get excited because we are about to go get a house of our dreams. And then, of course, we don't want to move with all other things we have in our previous house or our apartment. We don't want the chairs, we don't want any other thing. We just want everything brand new. And now we go get all these nice brand new furnitures, forgetting to know we haven't closed on the house. Most of the time, a lot of people don't have this money cash. Okay, so you end up buying these things on credit. Because guess what? What's credit card for? Swipe and get the stuff. So we go swipe those credit cards or get new ones and buy those things. You get new everything, right? And you're ready to move those new stuff to your new house. And now, unexpectedly, maybe you even decide to actually go buy a new car. And now, unexpectedly, before the closing, they'll tell you, hey, your credit score dropped, or something happened, or you're unable to close because we saw that you are owing so much debt. Can it happen to people? Yes, it can. You might end up not closing on your beautiful home just because you decided to go make those large purchases at the entail, like very few days to, or few weeks to close in that house. So avoid making those large purchases before you close. You want to wait and close and then go get those credit cards if you don't have the money to buy everything brand new and buy. Because guess what, when you buy the house, when you sign the contract and the keys are yours, It doesn't matter how long it takes to get in there, right? It's yours already. So you can take a month, you can take a year. So you can order those chairs and they come as slowly as possible. That new car, those new stuff that you want in that house. Okay? So make sure, even if you decide I want large purchases, I want new cars, new everything in my house, wait until you finish signing that contract of the house. Okay, my friends? Number 8, right? Number 8 mistake you want to avoid is not considering future needs. So when we talk about future needs, we are talking about the long-term plans, what other considerations you might meet in the future or need in the house in the future. So maybe you bought the house, or you're in the process of buying a house and you just got married and you don't have kids. And now the house you bought might not be okay because you might have expansion possibilities. You might not have put proximity to schools because when you were buying it, you weren't thinking of having kids at that moment. Or your workplace at that time, you were working somewhere close and you didn't worry about those things, right? Lifestyle change. Yeah, when you have kids, your life actually changed. So make sure you consider your future needs. Like I said, especially for young couples or people that actually just buy these homes and then before they start a family or other things, right? Things can change. As long as you have your future needs into your current house you're buying, you're not going to face those challenges. You're not going to face those challenges because you already consider those things ahead of time. You don't have to worry about proximity to school for your kids or even for yourself. You might want to go back to school after you get a house, right? You don't want to drive 2 hours to go to school, the school you want to attend, right? You want to make sure that maybe highest 30 minutes. The highest you want to drive maybe it's an hour to go to school for yourself as well. So you want to think of those things when you're actually purchasing that house in any location you choose to. So don't make a mistake of not worrying about it now and thinking I'm going to worry about it later because it might be too late. Now you're stuck in that house. You might not have another money to go buy a new house and a new location that is going to fit your needs at that present moment. So why not do the work for now? Calculate 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What do I want to do? What other needs might arise, right, in your house? So think of those things while you're actually going in there to purchase that house. The number 9 thing is rushing into making decisions to buy a house. Take your time, guys. You don't want to rush. It's not as if you're going to get in and get out tomorrow. You're not going to take that loan from the bank, and most people cannot pay in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years, or in the next 2 days. You're not coming in today and going out tomorrow, right? So you want to make sure you make good decisions. This takes a lot of money. And you realize that when you get a loan for 300, you're not only going to pay back 300, you're going to pay way above 300. So it's a long time, guys. It's a lot of money you're going to be paying back to that bank, that lender. So make sure you make the right decision when you're actually going in for the house, what you're willing to spend and all those things, right? Make informed decisions and do not rush for whatever reason. Take your time, okay? And the last thing I want to talk about, number 10, is overlooking additional costs. Yes, do not just think that it's all about the house I'm gonna buy. You have other things. Remember, in addition to the purchase price, you have other costs like property taxes. You have insurance, maybe homeowner associations, all those things if it's applicable to where you're actually gonna live. Repair, you never know. Maybe the future, right? Home buy the closing process. You still have to pay all those fees, right? Like I talked about potential renovations and repairs and all that. Don't overlook. Make sure You put all those things into consideration while you actually do all your thinking. Because if you make a mistake and say, oh, just worry about the house only, you're going to realize that it's tough. It's going to be hard you keeping up with other bills if all you did was think about, oh, I just want to get the house. Because apart from all other things I just mentioned, you still have to pay lights, you maybe pay trash, you have to pay your heating system or whatever, and any other additional stuff that you have to pay for, like water and all other things that will come with a house, right? So make sure you avoid these 10 mistakes as you buy the house. Because if you avoid them, you'll be way successful in buying a house and you'll be satisfied in staying in that home. You won't be so stressed at the end of it, right? So avoiding those mistakes are gonna really be of good help to you and to any other person that is gonna be staying in that house with you. So thank you. We've come to the end of this video, but before I leave for today, we do have free home buyer sessions, especially for first-time home buyers, to educate them. If you're in Missouri or Kansas, I only talk about Missouri or Kansas because these are in person, right? We don't have Zoom or other links that we do. We just have them in person. So if you're interested in attending one of these sessions, please leave me a comment on the comment section and I will get in touch with you and I will give you all updates when we actually hold these classes. But apart from that, if you're interested in getting to know more or expanding your knowledge or buying a home, I do have a book called the Home Buyers Guide. I'm gonna equally leave the link in the description, so you can actually request for a copy and read on your own and gain more knowledge. Remember, the more knowledge you gain, the more you are going to make better decisions, because guess what, you're not going into buying that house blind. So until next time, make sure you stay safe and healthy, and thank you. And do not forget to subscribe, like my videos, share, and actually leave me a comment. And if there's anything you want me to talk about, feel free to leave the comment in the comment section, and we will talk about those in our next video. Thank you.